Welcome back to Random American, and today we're working on this. I'll show you. The next 14 bolt that's going to be in the gray truck. So, simple is what needs to happen. Easy, it is not. But that's okay, because I'm going to make it neither one of those things. Well, it'll still be difficult. It won't be simple. In all reality, the only things that really need to happen to this in order to adapt it from a 90s model Chevy truck rear diff to a square body rear diff is I just need to move the spring perches in a little bit on each side. Good to go. But because all I have is junk, that is not all that has to happen. I have to tap these threads out. That wheel was locked, but I cheated and looked at it already. I got the wheel unlocked and saw it was inside of there. I'll show you in just a second. But I have to replace some brake parts in that, which if I can't pull them off the square body itself, I have another truck that has one of these in it that I can pull those parts out of. So let's start with one step at a time and move from there. Okay, since last thing is first, I'm going to start with the easiest thing possible. And that is I have to clean these here holes up. And if you're wondering why I'm working on the grounds, because this is heavy and I have to do this all by hand. My cherry picker is currently somewhere else because technically it's not my cherry picker. So all I'm doing is clean these up. They were full of my dauber's nests and all that good stuff. I'm not really cutting new threads, I'm just getting the mud out of there. So this tap will be effectively ruined as soon as I'm done with this. See if I can clean that up some. Oh yeah. Use some $30 a can Kroil for this. Alrighty, I apologize if it ruins the lighting in here, but I had to open up the door. I'm dying. So, on these, man, I hope I can use those. Anyways, on these, in order to get your brake drum off, GM in their infinite wisdom put the drum behind the hub. So you have to take your axle out, and then you have to take everything off the spindle. You have to take your whole hub off. As you can see, obviously I've already been into it. Because I was curious to see if I was even wasting my time on this. So we're going to go back in here. I'll show you exactly what's wrong, what parts I need to rob off of something else to get this thing going. Then your axle slides out. Oh, just like that. The tools I have are very specific for this. So I have the smallest screwdriver I own. Get in there and it's almost a snap ring, but not exactly. It's super thin and it just kind of sits on the, what do I want to say, your threads. And it keeps your key in here. The key is not particularly stuck, but it does help if you have needle nose or some kind of plier to grab a hold of it, because it only gives you just a little itty bitty nubbin to grab a hold of. Then after that, you've got your spindle nut, which generally is not very tight. It is just there to hold just enough tension on your bearing so it can spin freely and not come apart. That is all this is in there for. You can see how wide the distance is between where you can put the key in there, so it's not super tight. whenever I'm pretty sure this is factory, whenever I took that out, it came out extremely easy. So, don't overthink it. Just grab this and pull it off when you don't have other issues going on. Okay. Oh, now it doesn't want to turn. Okay. There we go. Oh. And it comes off easy as that. So now I'll bring you in here and tell you what all is missing. Biggest thing that's missing is there isn't anything pushing on that drum or that shoe over there like there is on that one. And I'm missing this whole spring nail setup over here. So you can't do that because that's not good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back together for the moment. When I get this underneath the truck, then I'm going to worry about the brake situation. I have everything soaked down with some Croyle, PB Blaster, and any other chemical that I had laying around that says it fights rust. So, just going to work on getting the shocks off of this. I already have the measurement on how far over my spring perches need to move. I need to be 4¼ inches from the end of the axle where the backing plate bolts to the axle itself, or the axle housing. I'm going to double check that measurement because I measured everything else. The axle itself is the same width, obviously same bolt pattern and all that. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to use these shocks, so I'll go ahead and get them off. I think I already said that. I'm not going to worry about the brake lines just yet. I'm going to hope that I can use the brake line, the hard lines that are already on this, and just replace the rubber line side with the one that's already on the truck. Here's hoping. So I'm going to go ahead and get that something done. Probably the shocks. Then we'll get to measuring and cutting. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alrighty, so here's my predicament. I can't get this off without cutting it off. It's welded on there. So I wasn't 100% sure on that, if it was just bolted or welded. It's welded. 4-inch grinding disc. It does not like to get down in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it the old college try. But first, I need to get this off of here. This is just a bump stop. The other axle doesn't have it. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this. There we go. Alright. If you're wondering why I cut only this side and then started prying on it, just to see how far in those welds are really going and to really see what I have to do on that side, or on the spring perch. So I'm going to keep working on this, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. Well, I've tried really hard, and this just ain't working. So, oh yeah, it's a new day. I'm just going to order spring perches. They're like 30 bucks. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut the tops off of these. I don't know, do something to get them off. I'm not going to worry about ruining them. I'm going to grind everything smooth. So I'm going to get all this off of here, get it all cleaned up nice and pretty. Right here where I've undercut, I'm going to do what you're not supposed to do. I'm going to weld the cracks up, and yeah, so I'm going to do that real quick, and I'll meet you back here in, I don't know, 10 days or so with some new spring perches. Alrighty, so it's been 2 weeks now. I got new spring perches in from these guys, because I forget who they are. They're very nice, and they have different spots to set your center of your axle offset, to use this as kind of an anti-wrap feature, which I don't see how this thing can rhyme anyways, but whatever. But we'll go ahead and get these set on the axle after I do some repair work, which I'll show here. I was trying to cut the other perches off, and I was not. I'd have to have a torch and or a plasma cutter to be able to get those cut off to reuse. So these were like 35 bucks, 30 bucks or so. They seem to be pretty heavy duty, but I do have some spots on that I have to fill in, and I don't want that to break because I'm not much of a welder, but today we're going to figure it out. I have my buddy's Hobart welder and some 300-foot leads, and we're just going to figure it out. So let's get to it. Alrighty, well, I'm not a welder, so my best guess is, since this down in here is going to be real thin, I'm going to try and keep the heat up here on the top and back here. So I'm going to kind of work across and pause at these two ends and kind of move through this gap a little bit quicker. Hopefully I don't burn all the way through. I guess we'll find out, because I have to go all the way down to here and all the way around. So it would really help if somebody actually knew what they were doing, was doing this, but I don't. So I'm gonna, I might grind that down just a little bit more, because that's a hard lip and I don't want that in there. So we'll be back. If anybody's curious, I'm using a 7018 3/32 structure rod. Not sure if that's the right one or not, but it's the one I'm using. It's the one I got. Okay, I need to calm down, steady myself a little bit. Boy, I ain't gonna win no awards with that, I guarantee you. Back here a little further. Okay, so those aren't the best welds, or even good ones. I need to slow the hell down and concentrate, but also the sun was in my eyes. It's been a long time. The metal wasn't shiny enough. I mean, I can come up with excuses all day. But I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in again, or with another bead. I got a little bit here that I got to fill up, and I got a little over there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get to putting spring perches on. Sound good? Cool. Alrighty, so here's the final result. Now, you can see where I did some side to side there. I was just trying to fill in a little bit of a small gap there, because up here it tapered out, and most of that's going to be ground completely away, so I didn't care about that. Same thing with here, right there too. I mean, those are just the tiniest little divots in, but I went ahead and filled them up. Same thing over here. Those weren't much at all, but they just had some porosity in there because I suck. And remember, kids, a grinder and paint will make you the welder you ain't. So, I don't care. I'm doing my best. Is it going to hold? Will these spring perches stay on there? You're damn right they will. You know why? Because I have faith, hope, and I will forget all about them. So, let's go ahead and I'm going to get this stuff grinded out of here. And we'll start putting spring perches on. Or at least one and then the other. And, you know, oh, I got to go get some paint. Damn, I need to do that. I'll go get some paint and then we'll do this. Sound good? Sounds good. Alrighty, so continuing on with my terrible welding, because I got all this cleaned up and whatnot. So, what I did is I leveled that spring perch over there. And I leveled this one and I brought it out from the bulged portion of this backing plate 4.5 inches to the spring perch, and that should be exactly where I need it to fit on the truck down there. If not, I'm going to be real sad. So, pray for me. And pray that these welds are strong enough to not come apart. Should be okay, but you never know. Around on there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to tack this in a few spots and then I'll run my beads. So let's see, I'll start with an easy spot. Oh, okay. That's tacked in spot in place. Oh, got this side already pulled up. Oh. Alright, that is still level, so I'm going to get my level out of here. Probably count how many times I say level. Then I'm just going to run a bead on both sides. If I have to stack another couple of beads on top of it, that's perfectly okay, but I need to at least get this on there as solid as I can. Let's see. Okay, so both of those are on there, kind of even, painted. Got all that stuff put on, which I'm going to have to take back off to fix that brake. But as of right now, I'm going to hook a chain to that and take her on down to the truck. And the shop, or the shed's a absolute disaster now. Great. Alrighty, so we're back underneath the truck again. Next to the traffic. Great. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to time lapse it and put some music over top so you don't have to listen to this all the time. But I'm going to get it jacked up. I'm going to see if I can find a couple of jack stands, because that'd make me feel a whole lot better. I'll put them here underneath my leaf spring here in the front. Drive shaft, brake lines. I'll actually have to keep the rubber line if possible. My shocks, and then my, I guess technically, I'll have to cut, because it doesn't do anything. I'll have to get all new everything for that, so I ain't too worried about it. But then we'll get the axle rolled out of here, see if we can get the new one rolled in here today. I only have like an hour to get all this done, then I have to take a shower and go meet some friends. So we're just gonna try and knock it out. I need to get the brake stuff fixed on this side, so yay me. Okay, well, change of plans. I'm gonna have to do this another day. So that's why this video is late. I'm gonna go ahead and get these to where they'll move. Figure out something with the brakes. which I guess it really doesn't matter because I can just break those off and it's not a big deal. I got one of them to turn, the other one, it will come out. So, yeah, you're gonna have to wait, and that's my fault. That's not preparedness. Yeah, see you then. And we're back almost 3 weeks later because Jegs let me down, so I just went and got some generic ones, and I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and stainless all the brake lines on this thing eventually. Not yet, but eventually. So I'll go ahead and get these off. This side's broken off. This side's pretty close to broken off. I'm going to take this here center off because I got a new rubber line and everything. This line is 40 inches long, and it's too long for even this side, I think. So I'm just going to do my best. Over here we're going to have to do some hokey pokey stuff. This is not permanent. And be careful you don't kink it. Like I almost just did. So it's at this point that I decided I was just going to go ahead and voice over all of this because the traffic was getting really, really heavy. So basically what I'm doing here is the exact thing you're not supposed to do. I'm going to wrap this around the axle because I have to take up space. And the only reason I didn't get a shorter line is because they didn't have one at the time, and I was tired of not having this in the truck. So I'm just going to get this bent around the axle, wrapped around, try to not kink these lines because they are awful soft to the copper-coated steel, which do really well, but you have to be careful with it, and I'm explaining that here. So the big reason why you don't want to wrap around your axle the way I did is it can catch on things. It can catch on a lot of things, and it creates a lot more surface area for that to vibrate and rub a hole through, and it's just not what you want to do. But I'm doing it in a pinch. I'm putting full stainless lines on this thing anyways, so it's not the biggest deal. It's just going to have to maybe get until I can afford the full lift and all that. So I'm trying to explain that here, but there's just too much traffic going on. I can't do it. But yeah, nothing too huge. Basic brake lines, getting them all tightened up, having to fight through a little bit of rust on the threads. Stuff you guys do at home. So I'm going to go ahead and get this done, and we'll move on to the next step. Alright, because of my excellent ability to jack and block things up, I didn't show you any of that because it's dangerous. And I went ahead and got the drive shaft out of here so you could see. This brake line up here is stripped. So I'm just going to put, as somebody called them, permanent pliers on it. Some free all and pray. Please just turn. Oh, okay. They turned, but they turned the whole line. That's okay. A little bit of patience. We got this. There we go. I told you. Hammer and a chisel. Or screwdriver. Whatever. know. How in the hell did that even work? I don't know. Okay, we got our brakes unhooked, which is half the battle. I'm going to go get my impact and a socket, and we're going to see if we can just turn the U-bolts off, because that would be great. I would like to reuse them, but if I have to use my extra long ones, I will. So, yeah, let's see what do. Okay, so this thing only has a half a battery. We'll see what we can get done. I need earplugs. There we go, now that's harder than hell. I really hope these leaf packs are together and I don't have to clamp them, because if so, that's going to be a real pain. Damn Freol cans, I swear to God. They lose their aerosol very quickly. Oh, hell. I have 2 broken leaves. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unhook my shocks. Figure out if I can do something about this leaf pack. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can go to the farm and get a couple of rear leaf packs. I might have some. They'd be K10s, not K20s. But to be fair, suspension is suspension, you know? Having it is better than not. Well, I robbed a leaf off the Perkins over at the farm, and I didn't show you that because I ain't shown you the truck yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting this out of here. One more bolt on one side and the shocks, and this thing's coming out. Not sure. I'll have to take the wheels off. That's gonna kind of suck. But yeah, we'll get it rolled out of here, and I'll show you how I'm gonna fix that leaf pack. I want to cut off this side because this is the outside end, and it's a lot easier to get to with a welder once it's in the truck. Now the trick will be to get that bent up far enough to be able to get this top leaf out. If not, I'll cut the other side and just weld it off. This leaf I'm going to keep in here, just because it's not hurting anything. Get that out of here. See, this right here is what kills your leaves, is you get mud down in here, and then it torques the hell out of them right in this spot on every one, and that's very, very, very bad for them. Like that. I just didn't want it to explode. This sucks. Another broken leaf. Ugh. I'm going to need to put the lift on this thing as soon as possible. This is the roughest leaf pack I have ever seen. And I've dealt with some bad ones. So now I'm going to roll the rear end underneath of it and see if I can get the spring perch on that side, or the spring on that side, bolted down. So at least if this thing falls, it doesn't fall that far. And then I'll work on getting this spring up in there. None of this is easy. Not at all. I get some water first. I am wet enough that if I jumped into a swimming pool, I'd dry off. See you in a minute. Roll that way. Alrighty, so that side over there is mostly setting on its spring perch. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other leaf and set it in here. I don't feel quite as sketched out now that that thing is sitting at least on that axle. So if it falls, I mean, it's only going to break my neck, not cut my head clean off. Which is a plus, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and let's get this other one in. Okay, well, I'm tired of screwing with this bolt. I'm going to go ahead and U-bolt that one in, so I don't have to worry about it right now. Then I'll dick with this. I need to get this thing shifted around to where it's lined up right. And I'm not going to fully tighten that yet. I'm just going to get it to where it can't pop off the spring perch, because that would be nice. I'm running into a small issue. I may have brought my spring perches in just a little too far. So, I don't know yet, and I don't know if I can make it work. So I'm going to put U-bolts in this side. I do not have the front, I don't have the front bolted in yet. I just have the back with a bolt through it. So I'm hoping that I just have this shoved over, and I can put this bolt in, force that over to shove a bolt in the front, and then pick it back up and try and realign the rear end where it should be. But I can't make any promises on any of that. Oh, where am I at? Stupid U-bolts. Whoever bends U-bolts needs to give them just a touch more. This is ridiculous. Can't even reach in here. Ow! He's not with enough grip to do any good. If we're being fair, I never did claim to have the best grip in the world. Okay. That one is securely in. Okay, now watch, I can't get a nut started even though I just ground the end off. Pleasantly surprised. I'll take that any day. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I have enough. Oh, that hurt. God. So I'm pretty sure I have enough to shove this over. I just need to, do it. So, I'm gonna pick it up off the ground again. Wait a minute, I can't. I gotta set it down first. Shove that over, and then pick it up. Okay. Well, it is bolted in. It is not right. It is shifted over towards the passenger side, and I don't know what to do about it right now. So, I'm going to call it a night and get back to this in a couple of days, because I'm fucking beat and I got to go to work tomorrow. So, I'll see you then when I got a plan. Maybe. Welcome back, friends. So, I got everything bolted up. I did some measuring, and I have my spring perches in a 1/2 inch too far. So, that's part of the reason why that didn't want to go. So, I will fix that when I do all the rest of the work on this damn thing. But in the meantime, because I don't want to think about it, grease this here U-joint again. And I have to grease it on the ground because I put it in the wrong way. So, I did hear from someone that AMSOIL is in a lawsuit for their stuff not being 100% synthetic. Now, obviously I bought this a while ago, but if anybody knows anything at all about that, go ahead and let me know. I'm interested, because if they are not what they say they are, then I might have problems with that. But I ain't gonna jump to conclusions until I know. Not saying that the guy that told me was lying by any means, but I would like to have all of my facts straight before I start doing stuff. I will need to put some friction modifier in this, but I don't have it with me. I'll have to run to the parts store for that. Is that really all the more that thing takes? I'll run it around a little bit and see if it needs more. That seems like way too little. Okay, that's tight enough. If that's the case, I got about $100 too much. So I did already bleed the brakes. Well, alrighty, the rear end swap is done. This thing no longer has an 1/8 of a turn of play in the back of it. I actually feel comfortable taking it on the highway. I did it with the old one, but we're not getting into that. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a walk around on this thing because I'm going to consider this the actual ending point of the LS swap. The whole point of the LS swap was to get this truck to where it's my daily driver. It's miserable to drive in the summer. It's not so great to drive in the winter. But guess what? It's a damn square body with an LS swap. I can just reach out, I can start it, I can do whatever in the hell I want with it. I have more power, I have better fuel economy, I have a lot easier time of dealing with it, and you know, I'm actually pretty proud of how this thing has turned out. This is one of, maybe even the only big project that I have done that has been completed. Now, are we done working on this thing? Absolutely not. But what we have done so far is we have the engine in it, we have the transmission in it, we reworked our entire harness, we learned a whole bunch from that. We redid the seats in it twice, and we changed the rear end in it. I mean, this thing went from setting for 3 full years to, I sold my 1-ton. I do not have another vehicle because I actually trust this thing and I actually want to drive this thing. This thing is absolutely awesome. We're going to do a little bit of a walk around on it, and then up next, the only thing that actually makes sense, we're going to drive it. You're going to come along with me. We're going to go down some backcountry roads in West Virginia, and we're just going to have a good time with it. We're going to enjoy it. Not going to say a whole lot, not going to do a whole lot, just going to enjoy the truck. Going to enjoy the sounds that it makes, the fact that it's running down the road, the fact that it turns and stops and does all the things that it's supposed to. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the engine. The wiring's a mess. That's the way it is for right now. That's fine. I have another fuse box so I can turn a bunch of other things to switchable power. Not worrying about that today. I have everything to do the insulation on the inside of the cab. We're not doing that today. It's hotter than hell in there. But guess what? Still driving it, still having a good time. I have my premium custom sound system in there. That works just fine. It crackles whenever it gets loud because it had sweet tea spilled on it 7 years ago and it's over 10 years old. I don't care. It's fine. It works great. But underneath we have the exhaust wrapped on it. It does okay. It doesn't do too bad. It's there, you know. It's keeping me from cooking my fuel lines, which is great. So you'll be seeing this thing very, very soon. I have a couple other projects I'm going to put out. I'm actually going to try and get ahead on videos so I don't have a 3 and 4 week gap like I did last month and the month before. So that will be exciting. It's not all on this truck. I have some farm stuff that I have to do. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to sweat my nuts off, and you guys are going to get to sit in the air conditioning and watch me do it. Win-win for everybody. So I'll stop flapping my gums. Let's enjoy the truck.
Appreciate you sticking on around, and I hope you guys have a good one.